We've got the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, and usually around this time when the new iPhone comes out, its biggest competitor is Samsung. So we're going to compare the two, we're going to talk about them, and at the end of the video I'm going to share with you guys which device I personally would prefer, Samsung or iPhone. We're going to see at the end, but let's start things off with design. So the iPhone 17 Pro Max, we're getting a unibody aluminum, and previous years Apple was using titanium, and before that it was like stainless steel, and now it's just a unibody aluminum with a glass cutout right here on the back. As you can see, again, Apple dropped that titanium in favor of aluminum, which is apparently lighter and disperses heat well, and that is true. It does help with heat dissipation. However, the phone itself is a little bit thicker as well as heavier than its predecessor because of having a larger battery. Now, Apple also does have this new camera plateau on the rear rather than just like that cut out in past years, and then just, you know, some antenna lines wrapping into the frame. Right here we also have one for like the 5G, I believe this is like 5G millimeter wave, and everything else about it is essentially like an iPhone design. Now, when we get to the front of the display, it has a 6.9-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display, ProMotion, again, 120 hertz, and it gets really bright outdoors, like 3,000 nits under direct sunlight. And then we also do get 3 colors this year, which is kind of weird that Apple did not release a space black color. So we got Cosmic Orange, Deep Blue, as well as Silver. This one is like really, you know, preference of the color you choose. Now there's also this thing going on with this design called Scratch Gate, and I guess, you know, it's easier to scratch the 17 Pros and Pro Max, so I would highly advise to use a screen protector on the front, but also a case on the back. Now this also does have on the screen the anti-reflective coating. However, when you do throw a screen protector, it kind of, you know, eliminates that feature. And also, the anti-reflective coating isn't as much as the Galaxy S25 Ultra. But do keep in mind, like, as long as you have a screen protector on both phones that don't really have an anti-reflective coating of their own, then you're really going to be losing out on that feature. Now, when we get to the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, it also has a premium build. It's also got a titanium frame around it, but it's more of a square design, as you can tell right here, side to side. But it does pretty much carry the same design from predecessors, from literally the Galaxy S22 Ultra, with very small refinements. You know, it's got the camera rings around it, and it does have the S Pen on the bottom. So for those who use it, sweet. And then, you know, we get the antenna frames around the phone too, and then again, that's for, you know, the 5G millimeter antenna. And yeah, we get, you know, power button on the right, the volume buttons on the right as well, nothing on the left hand side again. Well, yeah, the SIM tray is on the bottom, so there's no buttons on the left. USB-C on the bottom, speakers, you know, earpiece as well as one on the bottom. So yeah, like we're getting a normal design, like a lot of smartphones are usually going in that route. But display is a 6.9-inch dynamic AMOLED display, 120 hertz refresh rate, obviously QHD plus resolution, and it does use Gorilla Armor 2, and Samsung describes this as having significantly better scratch resistance, and obviously, you know, it has an anti-reflective coating. And I gotta tell you, you know, while iPhone does have it, Apple has added to older iPhone models this year, it's not as, you know, prominent as iPhones, and it's not as visible either. So that's what I like about Samsung's. Like, it's actually really, really good. But overall, I like the slim bezel design. Again, the integrated S Pen functionality, which right now is a distinguishing feature, not just for the Ultra lineup, but pretty much for every single smartphone. This is like the only smartphone other than like Motorola that is still known for having a pen inside their device. But what does this really equate to in the design department? So both phones do share the same display size as well as the same refresh rate, 120 hertz. So the visual smoothness on day-to-day usage will be pretty comparable. Not the exact same, but pretty comparable. The iPhone does go up to 3,000 nits of peak brightness. And the Galaxy S25 Ultra, I believe, is just right under 3,000 nits, but still gets plenty bright outdoors, which is like, at that point, it's so bright, like, why are we pushing for 3,000, 4,500 nits on some phones? It's kind of crazy, but hey, I guess numbers are always a good thing in terms of, specs. The Galaxy S25 Ultra's Gorilla Armor 2 and its anti-reflective coating, I think personally gives it an edge in like ruggedness, glare control, and things like that. And then obviously this is really just design preference. Do you want a phone that has titanium still and having more squarish design, or do you want something that's more aluminum and I guess more minimal in a way? For some, I don't really think iPhone is more minimal. I think the Galaxy S25 Ultra is definitely more. Like, this honestly just comes down to a preference. Do you want a phone that has dynamic island cutout, or just one with a front-facing selfie camera cutout? Like, again, that really does come down to you. Personally, I'm gonna go with the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra just in the design aspect. I like the more boxier look to it. So for me, it's going to be the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Now let's get into the software performance. iPhone 17 Pro Max, it is currently running iOS 26 powered by the A19 Pro chipset, 12 gigs of RAM, which is great. And it includes a vapor chamber, which is great. And because of that aluminum body, it's able to assist with heat dissipation under sustained load. And that's great because essentially, like, it's going to take everything from here and kind of just like equally disperse it among the phone. And in my use case, I haven't had any warm, touches on the phone when using it. So that is a huge plus, something I do appreciate. Obviously, it's got, things like Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 6. Again, good stuff. Plus, Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, it's running Android 16, at least my model is, with One UI 8. That's a plus. Using the Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy. And right now, Qualcomm had recently announced the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, which is the successor, but hey, this is still the current chipset on the market and does a really great job. It's a Samsung's optimized variant one, the 8 Elite made for Galaxy. And then this model right here does have 12 gigs of RAM. Both of these do have half a terabyte of storage, but the iPhone 17 Pro Max finally has a model that goes up to 2 terabytes. 2 terabytes of storage on the iPhone. And you know how much that costs? $2,000. $2,000 for the iPhone 17 Pro Max 2 terabyte model. That is a lot. But on a day-to-day performance, like, how do each of these perform? They're great. And this one really does come down to preference too, I guess. Do you really want iOS or do you really want Android? That is up to you. And look, on raw performance, I know some people actually do care about raw performance. I don't really take a look at those benchmark numbers or anything like that. And with that raw performance, while the iPhone 17 Pro may have an edge, especially in like workloads that benefit from the tight integration between hardware and software, who cares? Like, honestly, I still like both of them. They both do a great job. Now, the Galaxy S25 Ultra with the Snapdragon 8 Elite is still really extremely capable, especially where tasks like where Android and Samsung's optimization help, like multitasking and AI features. Like, Galaxy AI and Google Gemini is leaps better than Apple Intelligence. Now, if you noticed, Apple didn't talk about AI during the unveiling of the iPhone 17 series, and they know that Apple Intelligence was a flop. They overpromised, underdelivered, and this is the result. Like, they didn't even talk about it. And I gotta tell you, like, Samsung's Galaxy AI, paired with Google Gemini just performs so much better. If you are, in the market looking for a phone that, works good with AI features, if that's you, then you go with the Galaxy S25 Ultra. And especially what I love about Galaxy S25 Ultra and Samsung devices in general is generative edit. It is just so good and leaps ahead when compared to Apple's like photo, magic editor. But I've tried it and it's not great at all. So again, if you want AI, features, you go with the Galaxy S25 Ultra. And yeah, Samsung usually provides strong feature sets. Again, multitasking, deeper customization that power users will appreciate. And update support is a factor. And both of these, thankfully, tend to support for many, many years, which is great. With both of Samsung promising 7, Apple doesn't really have an exact amount, but it usually is around that area, 7 years. So that is a huge plus. So regardless of which one you go with, you can hold on to your phone for a pretty long time. But overall, like, which one should I get if I want to just game, or which one should I get if I want to take, lots of apps, have them open in the background, just switch back and forth? They're both going to do a great job. I've used both, I tested both, and they're both, they're great. It ultimately just comes down to the software. Do you prefer iOS or do you prefer Android? And for me, I know I'm going to prefer Android. Moving on to the camera department. Like I said, guys, look, this is just, what I've experienced in my comparison of these two. It's not a factual, like, hey, this one has better numbers, therefore this is better. Numbers are great, but they don't always tell the story. So you kind of have to, have a preference. And for me, right now in those two departments, I'm going to go with the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. Now, with the cameras though, this is where things are a little bit different, and you're probably thinking, oh, well, he's going to choose the S25 Ultra. Just listen. The iPhone 17 Pro Max has a triple 48 megapixel fusion camera setup with a main ultra wide and telephoto, and the telephoto now supports up to 8x optical zoom, which is great. It doesn't have like the 100x zoom or anything like that, so I don't get your hopes up, but still has really good photo results, and as well as video results, which is like, there's no phone that I use that compares to the iPhone. I just feel like it's so much more reliable, easy to use, especially for making content. That's one of the reasons why I use an iPhone 17 Pro as my business phone. I get to use it to record content. Now, the front-facing camera also does get an upgrade with an 18 megapixel camera and center stage, which is great. It's got dual capture, all that great stuff, ProRes RAW. So if you are getting into the pro camera photography world, then iPhone 17 Pro Max is going to be a great choice. Now with the Galaxy S25 Ultra, again, the 200 megapixel main camera, which is awesome. The ultra wide and telephoto lens have also been improved when compared to prior models, so that's a huge plus. There's a lot of AI camera enhancements, computational photography features, things like night mode, AI-based image processing are a huge strength with the Galaxy S25 Ultra. So I personally like it, and it has a 100x zoom, which is actually really good and usable. It's got 8K video recording, something that the iPhone technically could do, but it doesn't, which is kind of weird. But hey, maybe Apple does know better, and there's a reason why they're not adding it. Who knows? Maybe it just takes up a lot of storage. Again, we don't know the exact reason, but this is how I like to, kind of bring it down. For pure video and professional capture workflows, like if you are getting into pure content, you want your iPhone just for content, the iPhone is going to be for you. Especially, like, it just works really seamlessly for my workflow, and the fact that, like, let's say I need to record a quick video and get it up real quick, on like Instagram or TikTok. Record it here, airdrop it to my MacBook, edit it real quick, or I don't even need to do that. Everything's done on the phone and then upload it. But most times, like 90% of the time, I'm bringing whatever I recorded on my iPhone, using AirDrop to bring it onto my MacBook, edit through Final Cut Pro, all set to go, upload, and bam, I'm done. So for videos, hands down, I will be going with the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And still photography, I'll be honest, Samsung does a really good job. And with the 200 megapixel camera, I think it gives a very detailed result, both in bright conditions as well as low light. And computational photography is really good with Samsung's as well. So here's what I like to say. Hey, if you are looking for a lot of camera versatility, you want to go with the Galaxy S25 Ultra. But if you just want all-around great results for photos and videos combined, but have a heavy emphasis in the video department, then you want to go with the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And for me, I would probably go with the iPhone 17 Pro Max, again, because I have a heavy focus on recording video. So for me, it's going to be the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Galaxy S25 Ultra's results are great using the 200 megapixel camera, but for me, again, it's gonna be videos. Now the battery and the charging, and here's where it gets really good. So the iPhone 17 Pro Max, finally, because it's the eSIM model, has a 5,000 plus milliamp hour battery. Apple doesn't really disclose the exact amount, but it's looking like 5,088 for the Pro Max, and then like 4,000, like 4,300, 4,400, somewhere around there for the smaller Pro. Apple does claim up to 39 hours of video playback, but I can tell you this easily lasts all day. You know, ending the day, 6 hours of screen on time with like 40% left. That's very, very good. Wasn't getting that last year with the 16 Pro Max. It's got 50%, 20 minutes of charge. Obviously, you need to have the 40 watt charging adapter. It does have MagSafe and Qi 2 wireless charging, which is a huge plus, and something, you know, Samsung doesn't have, like the wireless or the MagSafe charging. They don't have that yet. They got to get on to that game. So the battery life on this has been very, very good. Huge leaps forward when compared to its predecessor. Galaxy S25 Ultra also has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and it does have 45 watts of fast charging, so it's teensy bit faster. It does have wireless charging, again, Qi 2, but that's obviously also depending on region. But for me, it doesn't have MagSafe. Granted, like I have a case right here from Fiberborn that does have MagSafe support, so that does help. But hopefully Samsung does bring it natively. However, I gotta say, like, while they each last me all day, this department, like, very, very slight edge, I'm going to give it to the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Just very slight edge. Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra still has a superb battery life, but the iPhone 17 Pro Max, as of right now, slightly edges it out, just, you know, by 15, 20 minutes of screen on time. It makes a difference, you know, at long term, you know, adding that up. We're going to see. Granted, you know, the S25 Ultra came out at the beginning of 2025, so there's probably some battery degradation. This one just came out. Maybe if they're on the same level, it would be a different story. Maybe I should just go buy a brand new, you know, zero, unused, I was going to say zero used, but a brand new, not used S25 Ultra, then test it out. But nah, I'm going to pass on that for now. So ultimately, what, you know, I would choose for in this department of which phone, it's going to go to the iPhone 17 Pro Max, but very, very slightly. Just a very, very slight edge to the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Now, just wrapping things up, who are these phones for? Like, I want to talk about who each phone is for, give like my personal preference and things like that. So who is the iPhone 17 Pro Max for? I think it's those who are looking to get into content. Videographers, filmers who value Apple's ecosystem, things like ProRes and multi-camera workflows. If that's you, 17 Pro Max is going to be for you. Anyone, obviously, who's heavily invested in the Apple ecosystem, like the Mac, iPad, Apple services, and seamless integration matters. And the biggest thing I hear is, for those, there are some, you know, iPhone users that are interested in picking up Android, but they're like, well, the biggest drawback for me is FaceTime and iMessage. Like, I just can't let go. Like, once you're in that ecosystem, it's hard to get back out. So, hey, if that's you, 17 Pro Max may just be the one. Obviously, try it out first. I always recommend, like, hey, if you see a video like this, or if you ask me in person, I'll give you my opinion, but just try it on in person and you choose on your own. That way, like, you'll be more comfortable choosing the phone that you like in the end. I'll give you the feedback of what I've noticed and what I have experienced, but ultimately it's your decision. And then those who prioritize, again, strong video performance, pretty good heat management, and surprisingly some polished software, at least with, you know, right now with iOS 26 on this Pro Max, I haven't noticed any issues, lags, or anything like that. And also just knowing that you're getting long-term software support from Apple. Well, how about this? Who is the Galaxy S25 Ultra for? I think it's more so for those who just want camera versatility, just more camera features, camera options, and all that stuff. High resolution sensors, advanced zoom, AI camera features, power users who like deep customization, Android flexibility, multitasking, you know, things to do. Then Galaxy S25 Ultra is going to be that device for you. Obviously, if you like the S Pen, this device is going to be for you. If you want things like Samsung DeX, and I know a lot of people actually use Samsung DeX, then again, this is something for you. Apple doesn't offer like an iPhone Apple desktop thing, wireless thing, you know, set up with just a monitor. They don't have that. Samsung does with Samsung DeX, and I've used it. It works quite well. But overall, like, I get these questions like, well, who's the winner? Which one's better? It really does depend on use case. If you know your priority, video, ecosystem, you know, all that stuff, I think the Pro Max is going to, you know, be your choice. Even though Samsung does have an ecosystem of its own with its watches, with its Galaxy Ring, with its earbuds, with its Galaxy Books and all that stuff, people still tend to kind of, whenever you hear ecosystem in the tech world, people automatically, you know, resort to Apple and the iPhones. But if your priority is, you know, camera versatility, you know, flexibility, customization, and all that great stuff, Galaxy S25 Ultra is really good. They both have great performance, great battery life too, so that is a plus. And then, you know, this design for each of them, that's also going to be a preference thing as well. But when putting them head to head, I'll tell you this, you know, I am someone who makes content quite frequently, but on a personal phone, I'm going to choose the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. That's right. Because I know, like, hey, while this is reliable still for, you know, those tools of making content, I don't want to use my personal phone to make content. So I personally would go with the Galaxy S25 Ultra. But if you gave me the iPhone 17 Pro Max and, hey, well, you have to use this over the S25 Ultra, like, you have to, I'd be fine with it. But my personal preference is going to be the Galaxy S25 Ultra. That's just my thoughts and my opinions. Anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, definitely be sure to super the like button, comment down below, and best of all, share this video because it really does help out the channel out a lot. It will help push my content out to more people. Definitely be sure to check out my latest wallpaper pack right here. It is called Vintage Flourish. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. That's been it for me, and I'll catch you all in the next episode.